I am an enabler. I always find power in helping and finding the best version of people. People may not guess from my accent, but I was born and raised in the ghetto of Paris. And the month, but more specifically, with your biggest cheerleader. You can achieve anything that you want. If it's difficult, I want to try. If it's too easy, I get bored of it.
Sure.
Entrepreneurs are people who refuse to accept the status quo. Two choices that you can take, two positions that you can take in life. You can choose to be a victim or you can choose to be a fighter.
Lead with data, don't lead with feelings.
We are in the biggest revolution that we can possibly imagine right now, and we have to jump on the wagon if we don't want to be left behind. Your first has been easy education.
You have to adapt, but do not adopt any of their thinking.
I've never thought about entrepreneurship as a journey to take, but I've thought about the opportunities or the challenges that need to be fixed. You're not for everyone, and not everyone is for you.
Welcome to Disruption Now. I'm your host and moderator, Rob Richardson. With me is Flavilla Fongang, who is a serial entrepreneur, and she's had multiple careers. She's lived multiple lives, like myself. She's been in fashion, been in oil and gas. She's an ecosystem builder, and now she is building Black Rise. She's also helped Black women and women in general get into tech, be their authentic selves, and really fight for them to know that they belong at the table. So, Flavilla, great to have you here.
Listen, such a pleasure to reconnect after the great time we had in Cincinnati. So thank you for having me.
No, thank you. And as always, please subscribe. You can get to meet more disruptors like Flavilla and others. And we have our annual Midwest Con. We'd love to see you September 10th of the 11th here at 1819, where I host a podcast. So Flavilla, it's great to have you on. I like to get to know our guests before we kind of go down the path of what you're doing in tech, how you're changing the world, really to figure out how you got to be who you are. So my first question is a general one, like, what is your story and who are you? And to put it in context, how I briefly tell my story is I'm always that kid that was told by a teacher that I would never go to college, I would never achieve, just because I didn't do well early. And I have ADHD, which I consider a superpower now. But that teacher, I've been not proving her wrong, but proving myself and defining myself since then. That's my story and that's the reason, a lot of motivation behind why I do what I do, why I fight for the communities I fight for. But what's your story? Who are you?
Yeah, I love it. It's such a great way that's such a great comeback. For me, I think the best way to define myself, I'll probably say that I am an enabler. I always find power in helping and finding the best version of people, that anybody that I encounter. So yeah, so my journey, people may not guess from my accent, but I was born and raised in the ghetto of Paris. And from there, my story started and probably wasn't as great as people could imagine. Born in a ghetto, you probably think that I'm going to turn out bad. But I think when you have parents and a mom, but more specifically, with your biggest cheerleader who supports you and really just gives you a sense of true self-worth, you can achieve anything that you want. And I think I've always been by nature attracted by the unknown and the challenge. Like, if it's difficult, I want to try. If it's too easy, I get bored of it.
Yeah.
So yes, when I left Paris in my teens, coming to London, I didn't speak a word of English, but I had to study at the same time. So overly curious, scared, but also moving forward was super important with whatever I've achieved in life. And then, so what I did is that left university with loads of degrees, but unfortunately, not enough experience to take me in further. And I had to start from scratch, which was working as a receptionist, and I say that all the time because it's important to understand that, I chose this job and because I was also asking the right question. So I always say that when I hire people, they don't ask me, when I recruit interview people, they don't ask me the right questions, is because they don't ask any questions. And you always ask questions because you want to know what are the potential that you can achieve with this company. And that's what I did. That's what I found out. And that's why I joined. And then in 2 years, I was managing a department, which was really good. So
with that, if you can, because you got there, because you went there quickly, I just want to say, so it sounds like your mother was a driving force behind shaping your values.
Correct. Yes.
You
Always
can think
been
about
yes.
how does she do that for you? Because one doesn't come out and just say, some people are naturally just
Mm.
bold change makers. Normally it takes some, input and from our parents, which it sounds like your mother did. How does she shape your values? Like,
Yeah, my mom is a storyteller. She always uses personal stories to really inspire us to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes. She would tell us in a way that we can understand, and I think that's one thing that my mom always done. And we always had long conversations, sometimes too long, for us not to be like, come on, can we go to bed? Where she makes sure that we don't make the mistakes. And out of transparency, my mom had her first child when she was 16 years old.
oh wow,
Imagine, yeah. So having a child at this age, she really wanted to make sure that we don't end up the same way she did, which was not bad. I mean, she's grateful for the children that she had, but she wanted us to prioritize our education. So one thing that she said all the time is that your first husband is your education. So what are you doing? And that's why I'm an obsessive learner. Learning new skills. AI right now is something that I would love and continuously learn from, and so forth. So that's one thing that she's done. So it wasn't just talking for talking, but if you put things in the story, it's easy for someone to remember, and that's what she did.
so storytelling. You talk about storytelling a lot. I've read a lot about you, of course, and know and
Yeah.
we met once, but I feel like we're already connected. But
Yeah.
you talk about the power of storytelling, how that's so important. Like it became important to you because the values your mother passed down. How do you advise people on the importance of telling stories? And if you're not a natural storyteller, how do you tell people to tap into that power?
I think I wouldn't think that anybody is not a storyteller. Anybody can tell the story of what happened to their life. There's always a moment, a starting point to a middle part to an end. And I think it's important to just sometimes, I've been a marketer for a very long time, and people often, when they try to be commercial, lose a sense of what it is. If you were talking to a friend, you were telling a story to a friend, how would it sound like? How do you keep them captivated? Think about that. I think quite often when people tell stories, and if you're not doing to a person who's in front of them, they go too commercial and they lose that sense, and that's why people don't pay attention. It's always it's always important to think about who's in front of you. How would you get their attention? How would you keep them hooked? Don't tell everything, keep them interested, and
Right.
keep them holding on for wanting to know more, right? And I think that's what's important is that if you think about how you tell a story to a friend, use the same approach as if you are telling a story in a commercial manner.
But how do you do that? Like, I think it's like practically speaking, it makes sense, right? Don't go commercial, don't
Yeah.
go corporate. But of course, you are not talking to this person. This person
Mm,
is you're talking to them, but they're not there.
yeah.
And you want to figure out. I think it's you got to figure out how to reach that person. So my
Yes.
question is, how do you balance on how to reach that person while also trying to make sure you keep your authentic self when you tell the story? Because I think it feels
Mm,
like it feels like often people lose it and they become corporate, whatever you want to say, uh, in that they lose the authenticity of who they naturally are, trying to, I think, speak to people in a way they think they want to be spoken to. So how do you
yeah.
balance that out? Because I believe that's how people end up falling for that. They kind of say, okay,
Yeah.
how will people want to hear it? So how do you balance that between being your authentic self?
Yeah, so the first part of being a great storyteller is to recognize who is your tribe. Who do you want to appeal to? You're not for everyone, and not everyone is for you. When you know who you want to appeal to, is really understanding in terms of what are the interests and what are the challenges, what really matters to them, and how do you think you can provide value. So these are two things, like who is your tribe, whatever challenges or problems that they have in their life, and if you can resonate with that, this is your hook. For example, if I wanted to speak to Black women in technology, or Black women who are interested in changing career or transitioning into careers, I would say, if you are interested in changing career, let me tell you how I've done it. And I would take my story as an example to tell them the same challenges that they probably recognize or are there right now. What did I do to get there? So with a roadmap to my journey, and also the end, the results, so they can see themselves into it. And this is why for me it's so important for us. in our community as well to become more and more storyteller, because a lot of people cannot fathom that we have within the Black community that we have so much knowledge across so many industries, right? And that's why I do it. People just say like, Flavilla, you're always online. It's like I feel like I'm always online, but I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it
Right.
because I need to inspire somebody out there who may think, wow, she looks like me and she can do it. I can do it too. Because I think about my journey to becoming a storyteller. I wasn't great at the beginning, but it takes practice and time to see what
Absolutely.
hooked on it, right? But
Yep.
I think start with who do you want to appeal to? Who is your tribe? How do you understand their problem, the challenge that they have? How can you resonate with them and tell them your story? And then from that, find the step by step that you can create so they can understand that they can achieve it too, and use story to reinforce the validity of your point. And that's how
Right.
you get it. And it's so easy to remember somebody that told you something that made sense to you, that a completely theoretical, copywriting kind of style.
Exactly. Exactly. So, you talk. I believe that's the opportunity and challenge in the age of AI, because everybody thinks you can just copy it. No, you still got to know who you uniquely are and how you are solving the problem. So the most important thing with AI is, clarity of vision, clarity of the problem you're trying to solve, of your community, of your tribe.
Yeah.
So I want to get to like I'm going to come back to building your tribe, because you talk a lot about that. You
Mm,
talked about reaching them, and you've also gone into the importance of entrepreneurs understanding, building, and scaling their tribe. But I want to get to you also to talk about your entrepreneurial journey. Like, when did
yeah.
you know you wanted to do what you're doing now? When did you know that you wanted to become an entrepreneur and an ecosystem builder?
I don't think I ever. It's interesting that you asked me this question, because I've never thought about entrepreneurship as a journey to take, but I thought about the opportunities or the challenges that need to be fixed. That's probably how I saw it.
Mm,
So my journey as an entrepreneur started after this first job that I took, and I saw a gap in the market. And when I see a gap in the market, and I saw that nobody was trying to fix it, and how I saw it needed to be done, I decided that I need to do it myself. That's pretty much how my journey started. I've always saw myself as a problem solver. I don't like to do, the way I think about entrepreneurship is that we are people who dare to take the challenge, to think that we can solve a problem that people have normalized. So if you think about life before Uber, people always feel, oh, I'm going to wait on the side road and wait for the taxi to find taxi until someone say, you know what, that shouldn't be a norm. We shouldn't do things that way. Or, if you think about having to order food or have to go to the corner store to get some food, no, wait a minute, I can do this, right? So the entrepreneurs are people who refuse to accept the status quo. And that's what I am. Is like, I see a problem, it's like, that doesn't make sense. Why are we still doing things this way? It doesn't make sense. And
right.
then I will look for, if is anybody trying to solve it? Okay, if nobody is trying to solve it, I'm not going to take on every idea that I have. But sometimes I decide, maybe I should try this idea. So my journey to entrepreneurship started by just a lack as well. So quite often, the lack that's where entrepreneurship comes from. So again, when I said I'm from Paris, people say, "Oh my gosh, you're so lucky." But I grew up in the ghetto of Paris, in the sense that my mom only gave us one pair of trainers per year, because like, I'm gonna give you whatever trainers you want, but just know that that's your only pair. So trainers or sneakers, I was in the States.
You better use those sneakers well. You were
Yeah, exactly. I wear sneakers. And then, so my sister and I remember, like, we used to buy clothes from vintage stores. So we started like creating our own things and changing around, and and just we developed that curiosity and entrepreneurship by the idea of changing things, innovating, and so on and so on. And I think that from that it just becomes so natural, and you do it all the time. And then, as I said, that I define myself as an enabler, is that I'm able to look at someone and say, "Oh wow, you're good at this. Have you thought about this?" And so I'm always seeing a version that is not present, and the future, the possible future, even if it's not there. So my journey to entrepreneurship was very organic, but also I should say that I'm always been surrounded by entrepreneurs. My father was an entrepreneur, so he had multiple careers. My mom is a side, she had so many side hustles. She was making things on the side.
yeah.
So people just like, I'm not accepting just this. I'm always have different streams of income. So when you're surrounded by people like that, you naturally think that, if you can do it, I can do it too, right?
Right.
So your environment shapes you. the challenges and the struggles that you go through shapes you as well. And I always say there's choices that you can take, two positions that you can take in life. You can choose to be a victim, or you can choose to be a fighter. And I chose to not accept no for an answer. I chose to not define, what people have chosen for me. People say, "Oh, you should be a secretary," and I realize that doesn't make sense. So I listen to voices when it makes sense to me, and and I'm not afraid to challenge people have of me, and
Yeah.
even if they have a perception of me, it doesn't bother me. I've been sitting in boards where I'm the only black woman surrounded by white men, and they come into the room with thinking like, oh my gosh, she's the one who's going to make coffee, then I'm the one who leads the meeting, and you know what? It's surprisingly um, for them to not see that, but at the same time, they are also pleased to see that. Well, actually, this is good. I wanted to see this. Maybe I need to think further, and that's what
Yeah.
I love is
That's the, that's definitely the hope, right? I think it's the hope
yeah,
that people see that
mm,
obviously the current environment of where we are in the world, certainly America. I don't know if London, some of Europe is going to this direction too, of
yeah,
really kind of questioning the value of diversity. You obviously believe in the value of diversity. How do you, as an entrepreneur, um, that is successful but happens to be diverse and cares about diverse communities, how do
mm,
you advise entrepreneurs in this climate where people are trying to say that there's no value in diversity to
yeah.
move forward when people are trying to erase diversity as even something to discuss?
I think I love this, and I'm not going to claim to be a DNA expert either, but I think I'm a business-minded person, and I think it's important that your the agenda that you have shouldn't be the one that you say to your target to your prospect. What I mean by that is that you have to understand what is the commercial value that you bring to the table. So and often people perceive DNI as a charity case. They don't necessarily see the bottom line or the dollar behind this. Like, what does it mean when I have a brand that speaks to a diverse audience? I'm more people buying from that product. So, for example, and I'm telling you that, since Amazon announced that they're pulling it for DNI, I'm being much more conscious. I used to buy from Amazon, my eyes closed. Now I'm like, you know what? Let me look at the
Yep.
alternatives, and this is something that I'm going to do. That, like, if I can't find if I'll try to see if I can't find on Amazon, and if I can't find on Amazon, and if I can't find anywhere else, then I come back to Amazon. But if I didn't do that, I would have just continuously conveniently buy from Amazon. So we also have to make people realize that the dollar, the power of your every dollar that we have.
That's exactly
If
right.
yeah, if you understand that, then they pay attention to it. So that's why it's important. I always say to an entrepreneurs to lead with data. Don't lead with feelings. Lead with data.
Lead with data, don't lead with feelings, because you bring
Mm,
value, right? And I think there's multi layers to this. Like you're absolutely right. Like um, we can vote with our dollars in a way, right?
yeah.
And we can vote, so we can choose who we do business with, because the world is diverse. So if they don't believe in diversity, maybe they don't need diverse consumers. That's how it is. That's
Mm,
how, and
yeah.
yeah, and yes, I agree with you on not leading with, oh, I'm a black person, so support me, right? But there's value in that you have a tribe, and
Mm,
the tribe is, you know, black people buy things a lot, just like everybody else, probably more. So like there
yeah.
is value in the tribe that you bring, and you bring forth the data, as you said, you bring forth. What you do well, and that does have value. And for those that don't understand it, they're not your corporate tribe, different tribe from your community
Correct.
tribe, from your corporate tribe. But also, one point I'd like to make, I think someone talked about this current environment. You may not agree, uh, and I certainly do not, how things are being phrased, and how they're trying to scapegoat diversity as unqualified, and to say they're saying the quiet part out loud, that if you're black, if you're this, if you're a woman, particularly if you're a black woman, you are not qualified because you're a DEI hire. That is
Yeah.
what they're trying to do. But what I would say is you don't have to, you have to adapt, but do not adopt any of their thinking. Because if you want to change this world, you have to do what you're doing, is you have to become
Mm,
a builder. That's how we're going to
mm,
have to do it, and figure out ways to help and to use your words, enable other builders.
Yeah, I love what you say. You need to adapt and not to adopt, and that's the perfect example of what we are to do with our non-profit. Because GGA Black Women and Tech, my other entity, we need to detach ourselves from DNI. But what we know is that there's a major digital skill gap, right, in
Absolutely.
Europe, in the UK, and that's something that you cannot deny. You can get as many men as you want, but you need more women to be able to fight this. So if you want to remain a strong country, there's choices that you need to make sure that your people are qualified to take those big roles, and technology is leading, and everybody's scared of China and whatsoever. So if you want to stay relevant, something needs to happen in that case.
Absolutely. John O'Brien Favela says this all the time. He says, math doesn't have an opinion. That's why he likes it. Right? This is a simple
Uh,
fact, not a racial statement. There's not enough white men in the world to do everything and to fulfill what has to happen. There's not enough white purely men in tech or anything. There's not
no,
enough, and we have a diverse population in the world. So you want to serve Africa, you want to serve Latin America, you need to have diversity of talent there, because also knowing how to reach people matters. Understanding how to build for people. And you can see it less about race, more about culture. The culture
correct.
of African Americans, for example, is very different from the culture probably of Africans that are based in London. That's just my guess, right? So
Mm,
understanding the culture of where you're from really, really, really matters. So it's an opportunity to make money, not to shut it off. So people are really shutting off opportunity, and it's just not enough qualified, trained white men in tech or in the world to make up for the deficit. So
correct.
it's actually good for the economy when more people are trained and have access to technology. And that's why, like, what you do, what you do for so much tribe building is so important. And I
Yeah,
want to get to that. But before we get to that, let's talk about AI. Um, AI is obviously changing everything in terms of how businesses are built, what skills you need. As you advise a lot of entrepreneurs. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in your communities. Black Tech Rise, your nonprofit for Black women. What advice are you giving those entrepreneurs and professionals right now in the age of AI?
yes. I think we are in the biggest revolution that we can possibly imagine right now, and we have to jump on the wagon if we don't want to be left behind. Whether you like AI or not, you have to understand it. You have to apply it. You have to utilize it. So funny. I was doing an interview a few months ago with when I was looking for a marketing person, and I asked her, "How do you intend to implement AI in your role?" And she said, "I do not." And I said, "Why?" Is that because I don't
Well, a marketing person said they were not going to do
I'm
that.
actually
All right,
we're like,
just
what?
make sure I heard you.
I know. And I said to him, and I said, can you tell me why? And she said, oh, I don't see the need of it. And I said, okay, let me ask you a question. If I ask you to write an article, how long would it take you? He said, probably, half a morning. I said, like, let me just tell you, I do it in 30 seconds.
Yep.
So, and like for her, she was like, wow, she didn't even understand it. So it is so important for us to understand it, first of all, apply it, and another layer to also create it. Because as
Yes.
we know, the more we are a consumer, we more become victim of choices who
Yep.
build things with biases, right?
That's right.
And there's no excuses because there's plenty of courses available out there to just say, I'm going to spend half of my lunchtime and learn a bit about,
And they're
machine
all
learning.
free. They're all free.
They're free. They're free for you.
Learn.microsoft.com. Google
Yes,
has a course on AI. MIT, all of their courses on AI are free. Everybody says
free.
free at
Yeah,
FREE. They're not fake free, they're free. And
free.
if that's not your cup of tea, come listen to some YouTubes. Like there's a lot of ways to learn
Yeah.
AI,
Mm,
right? But I think there's this mental block that some in our community have. They think like, oh, I'm not a technical person. Oh, that's not me. Uh, or they just don't think they need it, like you said. Like I had this
mm,
conversation with one of my employees who was debating me. Obviously, we're an AI company, so it wasn't going to be much of a debate here. But it's like why, like AI wasn't ready, or you don't need that. And I'm patient and heard her out. But I said, listen to me. I said, here's what I know though. I'm going to expect you to produce at the same level as if you were using AI. That's how I'm going to judge you, right? I'm not going to judge you
Mm,
on what a person
the
does without
pressure.
AI. I'm going to judge you on a person that knows how to use AI efficiently,
Yeah.
and that's how I expect your output to be. If it doesn't match that, there's a problem, and that's how the world is going. And there's
Mm,
opportunities for folks that normally didn't have opportunities because some people, as you say, don't want to move fast, and they will get left behind even faster than they can even realize because the world is changing faster than we can see. Like I
yeah.
believe there's a multiple studies that said by 2030, 85% of the jobs in 2030 don't exist right now.
Mm,
Just think
yeah.
about that. That's five
Yeah.
years.
Absolutely. And the best way to always stay relevant is to continuously learn. Like if you don't continuously learn, you lose your value. You become less relevant to a company. That when people choose and decide who they're gonna do their layoffs, they're gonna choose people who haven't been in the same role for such a long time. They choose people who didn't try to learn new skills. People who have been showcasing drive. People always think about entrepreneurship as for business owners. I think that even if you're an employee, have the entrepreneurship mindset.
Absolutely,
Okay, what can you
absolutely.
do to demonstrate and go further and so forth? Like, how are you good at building relationship internally? So people talk about you at the table, even if you're not even there. How you make sure that people make sure that you are, at the table when there's an opportunity, they share that with you, or find your mentors and build a great team that really that you can lead the right way. I think those things are so. I think that we need to remove that entitlement of like
Yes.
expected to receive. No, 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 no. If you want something, you go and get it. And I think that's what the change that I want to see among all of us. If we have that mindset to remove that entitlement of I should have received, I should have had that, and ask and work, for understand the framework of the success. Like I remember that when I was employed, I say I want to make 50K. What do I need to do to make 50K? And my boss looked at me like, what? Say, okay, I'll come back to you. But at least when I knew what I need to achieve, it's like, well, I'm working towards this. I know what I need to achieve. But if when you salary review and you have no idea what you want and you don't even know when you need to get there, that there's the problem. You should feel in control, and that's so important.
Yeah. So you talk about building a tribe, right? And why that's so important. And really, how do you advise a person to go about building a tribe? Like, what are a key ingredients for success to build a tribe?
Mm. The key essence and success to build a great tribe is to find a common problem that enough people have, right? So when I started with GTA Black Women in Tech, the common problem with Black Women in Tech is that we were lonely. We were often the only one in the room. And also we were not recognized, or we were misunderstood, undervalued. So you see, what are the common issues of your tribe? When you find that, you reinforce that and reverse that in a way that really now help your community or your tribe do better. So that's a simple, it doesn't have to be complicated.
Right.
And then when you have that, then it's easy to just spotlight individuals that matter. So don't make it all about you. It's like, what can you do to really showcase for the rest of the world that actually the preconceived ideas that you have about us are false. So again, something when I launched GTA Black Women in Tech, the big idea is that there's not enough successful Black women in tech. So for 30 days on our launch, every single day, we highlighted a Black woman in tech. We worked at Rolls-Royce, worked at AWS, work at different brands and so on. And first of all, I think the power of being recognized is so important for people, which is more than money, was great. Two was, wow, you exist. I'm not the only one. And then you bring them into the same room. That becomes even more powerful because they feel like, wow, I can talk about to someone who understands my challenges. And then when we have panel discussion and so forth, we are really supporting each other. And then naturally people want to give back, right? So there's so much power. Why having a tribe is so much important is that you then give power for your tribe member to recognize theirs so they can act on your behalf.
Oh,
So what I mean by that is that when I build my tribe and when I've people say to me, how did you acquire all these brands to become your sponsors? That it was just people from my tribe who recommended me to their company. They made the entrance so easy. It's like, oh, Flavilla, she's doing some great thing. You need to speak to her. And that's it. And it was no hardcore sell or da da da. I didn't have to do cold calling. They knew what we wanted to achieve. They wanted to be part of that change. And now we could see that, wait, I'm part of a tribe and I can be part, I can do something about it. And so building a tribe is to empower your people. Is
absolutely.
that's what's important. Empower people by giving them a sense of courage. You're giving them great knowledge, but also connecting them in a sense that they can feel that they don't have to go through that journey alone. And that's really what made a difference for us.
Yeah, if I had to sum up what you said and why communities work and how you can build a successful tribe, it feels like it's seeing people, like really seeing their humanity, seeing their problems, and then being, like you said, being an enabler to actually solve them. Oftentimes, we can't see past ourselves, and that gets
Mm,
us in the way of actually being able to create that tribe, which actually will help our tribe and ourselves. So often it's us that are blocking our own blessings, if you will, or blocking the
yeah,
opportunity because we can't see other people. And then when you don't see other people, that's also when bad things and evil things or horrible things happen. Because I think um, people think the opposite of 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 love is hate, and hate is bad, but indifference is worse. And,
mm,
right, and
100%.
right, and a lot of people are indifferent to other struggles,
Yeah,
and that's why there's opportunities to solve problems like your community, but it's also an opportunity for all of us to be really, I think, better human beings. And
yeah,
I connect that to right now because we are building technology. It's a lot of power, but we want to make sure that there's always that we are considering humans behind what we're building, because we're getting to this point where people are thinking that technology can completely replace all of human interaction, human intimacy. I don't believe that. I think there's going to be more of a craving for that. And so let's talk a little bit about the community that you're building around tech, Black Tech Rise, how you came to do that, and what you are solving. So first of all, like I understand the big picture is to Black Tech Rise, bring Black tech entrepreneurs together all across the world. First question for you: why was it you that built Black Tech Rise?
okay. First of all, I should say it's called Black Rice. There's no tech in it.
All right, all right, I'll get it right. So let me make sure. So uh,
It's only Black
I
Rice.
said that a
It's
lot of times. So Black Rise, right? I say text so much.
fine.
We had so much text.
So
I'll,
yes,
I'll,
so
I'll ask the question again and retake
yeah,
this part. So we'll look at this. We're about 35 minutes in, retape this part. All right. So I asked the question. So Black Rise is a community that you are building and that you have built. First question: why was it you that launched Black Rise?
yes, I love this question. One thing that you will know about me is that nothing of what I do is by random. It's always very much a consequences and it's organic of actions. So launching Three Colors, all my first business, which was my agency, and then focusing this agency and working in technology led to me creating GTA Black Women in Tech. Then with a when GTA Black Women Tech became such a huge baby with over 22, we're more than 22,000 now across Europe. And I heard again something like when you build a tribe, it's also important to listen to what people are telling you. And so I've built my name through GTA Black Men in Tech. And but what also I heard was I'm not a man. I don't feel like I can join. Oh, I'm not in tech, but I love what you're doing, but I don't feel like I can join. But also, what I was looking for was a place where I could discover. Okay, so before that is that when I launched G Black Women Tech, inspire other Black women to launch as well their community, which I love. I think there's enough place for all of us to do something, right? But what I realized is there were so many great, interesting communities that I was discovering, but I was like, how? I've never heard about you. So I was looking for a place myself where I could find an ecosystem where I could discover everything Black owned or Black focused, and I couldn't find it. So again, I'm a marketer. Before I go crazy and start launching an idea, I always test it. And I said, like, I'm going to do this. Who is interested? Please let me know. I mean, people came back to me and say, wow, we're interested about the idea. And if you are interested, John, be on the mailing list. And that's basically how it all started. The reason why I was the person to do this is because I wasn't a no one, but also was sounding pretentious. And I've also built a level of authority and friendship with a number of Black leaders who are also powerful across a number of large enterprises, which is also why my entire fundraise has been backed up by Black leaders only. so my fundraiser is fully 100% Black funded. And people say to me, how do you do that when Black people don't invest in each other? Blah, 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 blah. It's not the fact that we don't invest in each other, it's that we don't even know where to find people to invest in,
Yeah,
or maybe we don't even know if we can invest in, or we don't even know where to start. So we have a lot of mindset blockers that we have. But when you know the
absolutely.
best and when you've seen what they've done, so a lot of people who invested in me were first time investors. Like, I believe in you, so I'm gonna come. I know that you're gonna make this work. I know you. I've seen your work ethic. So when I say to people, what's important is that for me, if I didn't have, if I haven't built my personal brand, the one that I've built throughout years, I would have not been the right person to build Black Rise, because it would have taken me a lot of hard work to go through the hurdles. And I really, that's why I'm comfortable saying to people, please go try to do it. If you think it's easy, please do it, right? Because it's been a long time coming. And I always say that you don't build your network for today, you build it for tomorrow. What are you doing now that will serve you when you need it? What are you doing to help somebody? What are you doing every day to really build your relationship? And really, can't underestimate how important it is to network. People say, oh yeah, majority of white men get funded. It's because they probably have daddy who's like well connected with whatsoever, and therefore it's easy to get the money. But when you
And
are
their
born,
networking started early too. The
yeah,
network starts at their schools that are also the
100%,
millionaires in fifth grade. Like that's literally the networking
yeah,
starts very early. Like that's
yeah.
like, and so we don't normally have those levels, but there's other ways. One of my mentors said this. He said, as a community, we're not poor. We're just poorly organized sometimes.
I love that. Poorly organized. I think that's exactly that. Poorly organized. We don't know what we don't know. So therefore we make assumptions, or maybe we have self-belief, self-doubt. But again, this is why tribes and communities are so important, because
That's why
at
you got
least
to
you can,
join Black Rise. That's what.
that's why you gotta do Black Rise. And we and Black Rise, and that's why I say like Black Rise, I don't want people to see Black Rise as a community. It's the ecosystem where all the communities were Black focused, but also the companies of all background, big and small,
How would you
can,
describe this? Sorry to interrupt you,
yeah, yeah.
Flavella. How would you describe it? Like, how does it work, Black Rise?
Yeah, so the best way to describe Black Horizon, it's, and because people compare us a lot to LinkedIn, is that we socially curated to appeal to the Black community, in a sense that there'll be the learning area where you can learn from lots of Black experts across a number of industries, right? You will discover groups and communities that are focused specifically on different jobs, so Black in sales, Black in tech, da, 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 and so on. But also, most importantly, is that people can monetize a community. So, for example, wasn't even a competitor, but people, you can build your community, but you don't make any revenue from it. Or when people utilize WhatsApp, but it's messy, you don't know who's talking about that, and then sometimes you come in, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't follow up. So it's organized in the sense that you can create discussion, people come and join the conversation. You
It's
can see,
secure
okay,
too. Like what's a secure too?
uh,
It's not a secure like WhatsApp or Signal too.
secure,
Oh, okay.
similar. Yes, similar. Yeah, all of these things that are important. So I've looked at what I love from some of the tech companies that are there, and made it different and better, and what I couldn't find. And I think that I'm the first one who saw the challenges that I had building a community, and I was looking for something better. But most importantly, as well, for companies who are either looking for Black consumers or Black talent, the lack of data. Sometimes they don't have the data to know if this is performing well. They go and spend loads of money during Black History Month and say, yeah, yeah, I've done this, and it didn't work out. But actually, it's a continuous, journey that you need to do. You can't just invest in Black talent or during Black History Month. You have to do it throughout the year. So what are you doing to also understand the data? What are you doing to also continue building that relationship with those brands? Because that's what happened. We realized that they haven't built a relationship with those with our tribes, and then when they come, it's pretty much like, oh, I don't know if I will fit in your company. I don't know if I want to be the only Black person in the company, right? So all these things that I've learned from past experiences, and utilize it to really give people the power with understanding the data insight that sit behind every action that they do.
Okay. No, that's okay. So a couple of lightning round questions I like to ask folks. So, um, a year from now, what will we be celebrating in your life or with Black Rise or anything?
Okay, my life for Black Rise, because it's two different things.
Either one. You can do either one or both. It's an open-ended question.
Okay, for Black Rise, really for Black Rise, what I want to see is us finding a place where we feel safe, finding a place where we can buy black more comfort. I think I always say that don't buy from some because they're black, buy from them because they're good. So you find the best in each industry who can support you. You can find your own specific tribe. You can create your own tribe, and also companies would have seen the value of black talent and black consumers in developing their brand. I think what I'm trying to do is to improve the economic equity. That's the intention of it. Is that it's created for black talent, but it will serve everyone, right? So if you're a company, say I want to go into the in Nigerian market, you can find people who can help you get there. You can find the consumers who are there, and so forth. I think that's what I'm trying to build a strong ecosystem where we all thrive together.
Yeah, we'll talk offline. I'm curious to see about the developers and all that stuff behind there. So we'll talk more about that offline. Let's say the last 5 years of your life, if it was a chapter in a book, it was a chapter, let's say. So if last 5 years was a chapter, what of your life, what would that chapter be about?
You mean the last next years or the last week,
The
the
last
last
5 years, the last 5 years of your life, if it was a chapter, what would that chapter be about?
Well, life definitely. I think it's funny because you asked that and actually written a book about how I want my life to unleash. I would have definitely been off the grid in a sense that I'm here for a mission. As soon as I accomplish that mission, then I go and live somewhere in Africa. I haven't decided the country, but for me, it's just going back to pure simplicity, where I don't feel like a minority, where I feel like I'm among people who I'm just a human being. This is what I want to be able to do. That I've made a legacy that lives beyond me, and I don't need to be in the forefront, continuously fighting, speaking to my people because I've given them power for them to do it for themselves. That's what it looks like for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, I got a hard one for you. This will be the last one. What's an important truth you have that very few people agree with you on?
Mm. We often look for the solutions outside, but it's all within us. So spend time in quiet, spend time with yourself. You have the answer. You just need to know that they are there and you'll find it. I think sometimes we're always on the go, but actually there is so much power in slowing down and leaving space for quietness.
Yeah, Flavilla Fongang with Black Rise. Honor to have you on Disruption Now. Of course, you can follow her at Black Rise, all the great work she's doing in Europe, now connecting to the United States. Look forward to really working more together, figuring out how we can collaborate and make sure that we keep disrupting. Appreciate you on the show.
Thank you.